Welcome back students. This is a class of managerial economics. I am Punjika Rathi, assistant professor in IMS Engineering College, Ghaziabad. In this today's lecture, we are talking about the fundamental principles and concepts, and we are specifically focused on these two concepts, discounting and time perspective principle. So, these two concepts are basically used by the managers in case of economic analysis, analyzing the decisions, analyzing the various alternatives, because you see there is a scarcity of resources and they have to satisfy the needs, the desires and wants. They have to optimize the production, they have to optimize the sales and advertising to get the maximum returns out of the limited resources. So, this is how these two concepts would be applicable, and this particular lecture we will talk about what these two concepts are and how these two concepts are being applied, and at the end of this video lecture you will be able to understand what is the basic difference between these two things and how these two things have come into the perspective of the managerial economists. So, first we will talk about the contribution analysis. The contribution is the how much a particular thing is contributing. If I say contributing towards the success, towards the profits, or maybe towards losses. But this contribution analysis has came from a concept which is called as incremental analysis. Earlier in the last class we have discussed the incremental principle, and as per the incremental principle we analyze two things, incremental cost and revenue. Here the contribution analysis, under this principle the manager, the economist, he analyzes the contribution of a particular decision, how a particular decision is contributing towards the profit, or if there is some loss, so how that particular thing is contributing towards the loss. So, when we calculate the contribution, basically the meaning of contribution is the difference between the incremental revenue and the incremental cost associated with a particular project. It is the difference between these two things, incremental revenue and the incremental cost. So, we can say it is equals to IR minus IC, and we have already discussed in the earlier lecture the meaning of IR is change in total revenue due to a new decision, or change in total cost due to a new decision, that is incremental cost. So, when the difference between two things are analyzed, that is called as the contribution. So, this contribution, why we use this contribution? Because we want to take some decisions. The decision can be accepting or rejecting a project. So, clearly is visible from the face of it that we will accept the decision when IR is greater than the IC, when the revenues are greater than the cost. We want to introduce a new product, we have a decision that whether we should introduce a product or not, then again we will calculate the incremental revenue and cost of this particular project, of this new product. If we have to accept a new order, whether we should accept it or not, we should reject it or not. So, then again we have to analyze what is the incremental revenue and incremental cost associated with it. Then if we have to start a new plant, additional plant we need to launch and we need to set, then again we can analyze this thing and we can find out what is the contribution of adding this new plant in the firm. We want to make or buy a product, whether we should buy or we should make a product. Like if there is a component which has to be made in the company, whether company should make it by itself or it should purchase from the vendor, then also they can analyze the contribution of these two particular decisions, and the decision which is providing maximum contribution is called as the better decision. Then since we were saying incremental cost, there are large number of costs which are associated in this contribution analysis. These costs are labor cost. The labor cost, the meaning of labor cost, the amount, the remuneration payable to the labor which is employed in the production process. So, when this labor is directly involved in the process, it is called as the direct labor, and if it is indirectly involved, it is called as indirect labor cost. So, there is a material cost. Material cost is the amount which is to be paid on purchasing the raw material or the indirect material. The material which is the main part of the production main part of the product is called as the raw material, and the material which is a subsidiary, which is basically a ancillary product, which is not the main part, but yes, it is to be required in the production process, then that cost of purchasing that material is called as the indirect material cost. So, material cost can again be of two types, direct and indirect. Then there are overheads. Overheads are the indirect cost associated with the production. This is indirect labor cost, indirect material cost, and the expenses. Expenses are those expenditures which are not related to labor and the material. Then there are fixed cost. The meaning of fixed cost is that cost which don't vary on increasing the production. It means the cost which is incurred in plant, machinery, in the land, and in those resources which are to be used for a longer period of time, that expenditure is called as the fixed cost. So, when we are analyzing the incremental cost, we should also analyze the change in the fixed cost. There is a concept of opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is the income which has been foregone on losing the second best alternative. Then sunk cost is that cost which has already been incurred. It is the expenditure which we have incurred in plant, machinery, in the insurance, in the advertising, or in the investment, etc. There is committed cost. Committed cost is also a kind of sunk cost which has the management has agreed to incur, and it has to be incurred as per the promise of the management. For example, management has agreed to increase the salary or the wages of the labor. So, since there is a commitment on part of the management and it has to be done by the management, so that is why the name is committed cost, and it has to be incurred because it has already been committed in the production process. So, then there is a time perspective principle. After the contribution analysis, there is a time perspective principle. Time perspective principle says that the time should be considered while arriving at a decision. Means when we have to decide some alternatives, we have to decide among the options, we should consider the time frame, or we should calculate the cost and the benefits associated with that decision in the longer as well as in the short run. Means in both the time perspectives, it should be profitable. For example, if there is a decision which is profitable in short run, but it is not profitable in long run, then what is the use of taking such a decision? So, decision should not only be profitable in the short run, it should also be profitable in the long run. This is the basic core idea of this time perspective principle. So, let us see what it says. This principle says that a decision by the firm should take into account both short run as well as the long run effects on revenues and the cost, and it should maintain the right balance between the long run and the short run. So, it means when we are analyzing, we have to analyze two things. Generally, what a manager analyzes, he analyzes two things. One is the revenues and second is the cost, and this analysis of revenues and cost should not be on some particular time frame only. It should be analyzed by comparing both the time frames, by comparing the long run and the short run. So, when both the things are being considered, then only that decision would be called as a better decision or the optimum or the best decision. So, what we have to do? We have to compare the benefits as well as the cost in short and in the long run. Like if we came to know that the benefits are more in the long run as compared to short run, so definitely the decision would be profitable to us in the long run, because what the business wants, that it should be survived in a longer period of time and it should be able to compete in a longer time frame. So, why this perspective is used? Obviously, for selecting alternatives, for taking decisions of any nature. It means that this particular principle is not applied only in case of economic decisions, means it should not only be analyzed by the managerial economist only, it can be applied by any manager for taking any kind of decision related to marketing or HR or production or IT or for any area of the business. This perspective should be there. That is why knowingly or unknowingly this concept is being analyzed by everybody, be it an individual or firm or society or nation. So, as we are saying the two time frames, what are the two time frames? The two time frames are the short run and the long run. So, let us discuss what is the difference between these two time frames, short run and long run. So, short run is that time period in which the factors of production, in which all the factors of production are not variable. It means this is the time period in which the factors of production are of both nature, they are fixed as well as they are variable. So, it means that the fixed variables of factors of productions are also there and the variable are also there. Variable factors of production are those which can be increased, means their supply is unlimited in the short run or in the long run. Whenever we say that something is variable, some factor of production is variable, it means that its supply is unlimited, whether it is a particular time frame. For example, when we say factors of production, we have to understand first what are the factors of production. Factors of production are land, labor, capital and the machinery, the raw material, etc. So, when we simplify these factors of production, then the ultimate factors of production are land and the labor and the capital. So, these two factors are the factors on which the production depends. So, short run is the time period in which only one factor is variable and another factor is fixed. So, when we can only increase the supply of labor, it means we can hire only labor, but we cannot start a new plant, we do not have capacity to install a new machinery or new plant, that situation is actually called as the short run. But when we are able to expand both labor as well as the capital, so when we are able to expand both the things, then this time frame is called as the long run. So, if I say what is the definition of long run? Long run is the time period in which all the factors of the production becomes variable. It means it is the time period in which an entrepreneur or a manager can expand its business. It can start a new venture, it can install new machineries, it can purchase more land, it can hire more labor. So, these are the two time frames and these two time frames are to be analyzed when taking a decision. So, let us discuss the case for particular thing. So, there is a case where a firm is having temporary idle capacity and the firm got a order of 5,000 units and the customer is willing to pay rupees 4 per unit, that is the 20,000 rupees for whole order, but the incremental cost, the change in the cost is rupees 3 per unit. It means what will be the profit for the business, because it is paying rupees 4 and it means it is the incremental revenue and the rupees 3 is the incremental cost. So, when we compare the incremental revenue with the incremental cost, we come to know that incremental revenue is greater than incremental cost per unit, and for a whole we came to know that there is a profit of 5,000 rupees. So, on the face of it, it looks profitable for the business, but as an economist or as a rational manager, what he has to do? He has to analyze the long term effects. In short term, it is visible that this decision is profitable, but in the long run it is not profitable. Why? Because it is not profitable. Why? Because in the long run there are certain things which are to be analyzed, because if the firm is taking a profit of rupees 1 per unit, which is a very low amount, it means in future also it has to provide the product at the same price. So, that means the image of the seller would be set on that particular price only, and the seller would be viewed like that it is producing a cheaper product in the long run. So, in the long run it is detrimental to the image of the firm, but in the short run it is profitable to the firm. So, what the firm has to do, what the manager should do, manager should not accept this order, because this order has negative consequences in the long run which has to be analyzed by him. So, this is how the time perspective principle has to be considered while taking a decision. One has to compare the long term as well as the short term impact. So, if I ask you where the time perspective principle would be considered more, in what kind of decisions? So, the decisions which are based on investment in new plant and machinery, starting a new venture, launching a new product, mergers, acquisitions, these kind of strategic decisions, the long run effect should be considered, the long run incremental cost and revenues should be considered before arriving at a particular decision. For example, if a manufacturer is like there is a firecracker producer in the market, then when he is going to produce and he has to purchase the raw material, what kind of demand he should analyze? He should analyze only the short term demand, because firecracker is not a product which can be used in the long run. So, here the short time principle would be applicable, but if there is a manufacturer of automobiles, then automobile maker has to analyze the demand in the long run, because the product is to be used by the user in the long run. So, this is how the two perspectives are to be analyzed by the managers or by anybody who is going to take a decision. Then there is a discounting principle. So, the discounting principle is about the present value and the future value of the money. This discounting principle is based on the time value of the money. Time value of money is also a basic concept of financial management, where the present value and the future values of the monies are being calculated and being analyzed. What is the discounting principle? Discounting principle talks about the comparison of money value between present and the future time. So, if like there are payments at different periods of time, so one should compare the present value of that future payment when it has to be used, when the payments, when the receipts and payments are associated with different time frames, then to compare the value we have to arrive at its present value, then only that would be comparable option. So, this principle talks about the comparison of the money value between two time frames, one is the present and second is the future time, then only we can arrive at a decision. For example, if I have two options, I got rupees 100 and this 100 rupees is to be gifted me today, like someone wants to give me 100 rupees, and if this 100 rupee I take today, and there is a 100 rupee which I can take after 1 year. So, which 100 rupee would be preferable to me? As a rational manager, I should prefer, anybody would prefer rupees 100, this first one situation, because this 100 rupee is having more value. And how we are saying that it is more value? Because of the time value, because of the time value principle, and time value principle says that the better, the sooner the better, and the money which we receive today is having more worth than the money which we will receive tomorrow. So, it means this money we will receive tomorrow, there would be some uncertainty and the value of the money would also be reduced. That is why what money would be preferable to me? This money is preferable, it is better because of the time value of the money. So, the why we have said, because of this particular concept which is called as today's rupee is having more worth than tomorrow's rupee, and this principle is called as, the time value of money. So, how the discounting principle is to be applied? Let us see how it has to be applied in this particular method. So, there are two basic methods of arriving at the present value and the future value. So, we will start with the concept of the compounding. There are two concepts, one is the concept of compounding and second is the concept of the discounting. So, to discuss the concept of discounting, we will discuss first the compounding principle. What is the compounding principle? Compounding principle says that future value of money is equals to the present value 1 plus interest rate raised to the power 2, when present value is multiplied by 1 plus interest rate raised to the power t, t is the time period in year, means after how many years we will get to receive that money. For example, if I invest 100 rupees today at this rate of 10%, so the what will be the value of rupees 100 after 1 year is to be calculated by this formula. 100, it is equals to 100 into 1.10, it means 110 rupees is the future value. So, the money which I have today, means 100 rupees of today is having a value of rupees 110 in future, means after 1 year. So, this concept of arriving at a future value of any present value is called as the compounding principle. When we find out the future value of money, it is called as the compounding principle. By using the same formula, when we use the same equation and when we calculate the present value out of the same equation, the formula is converted as future value upon 1 plus I raised to the power t, where I is the interest rate and t is the time period, it is the time period which is in years. So, this concept is called as this particular concept is called as the discounting principle, where we are calculating the present value from the future value. So, we have got the future value, and when we divide the future value by the present value factor, we get the present value, and this concept is basically called as the discounting principle, where the money value is being discounted, the future money value is being discounted for today's time. So, alternatively, if I ask, like if I will receive 110 rupees after 1 year, so what is the value which I would have to invest in bank at 10% rate of return? So, if this question is being asked, so how it has to be solved? It has to be solved by the discounting principle, where we will divide 110 rupees by 1 plus 0.10 is the interest rate and t is the time period. So, when we divide this, we will divide it by 110 upon 110 raised to the power 1. So, the answer would be 100, this will be the 100 rupees. So, this is how the concept is being used by the analyst to find out the present value as well as the future values. So, let us discuss a case. We can see that banks gives us some rate of interest. There are postal departments, they when we invest our money we will get some return. So, there is a scheme, and the scheme is saying that we will give you 12% interest for every year on your bank deposits. So, if I deposit at 12% interest for 1 year and I have rupees 1 lakh rupees in my account. So, this I want to get 1 lakh after 1 year. So, what is the amount which I should invest in this particular scheme today? So, this is actually this is the future value, and we have to calculate the present value. So, if we want to know what we have to invest at present, so it means we are interested in calculating the present value. And what is the formula to calculate present value? First, we should know what is being given. The interest is equals to 12%, which we can write down as 0.12. What is the time? T is the time period in years. So, we have to remember that T has to be taken in years. So, T is equals to 1 year. So, when we put this value in the formula, we have 1 lakh rupees as future value. So, future may we will get 1 lakh rupees, and we want to know how much we should invest today. So, when we divide by this, we will get, it will be around 89,285.71 rupees. So, this is the answer, this is the present value. So, it means like if it has to be, when one has to analyze that how much is to be deposit in the bank. So, he can find out this figure that he should invest 89,285.71 rupees in the bank to get 1 lakh after 1 year. So, this is how the, or alternatively we can say that the value of the value of 1 lakh rupees today is 89,000, or value of 89,000 today after 1 year would be 1 lakh rupees. So, this is how the concept is being analyzed. Then there is a concept of risk and uncertainty. We know that the business situation, the business conditions are very risky. There are large number of risks associated with that, and due to this risk there is uncertainty. Uncertainty and risk, these are two similar things, and which has to be considered while arriving at some business decisions. So, the risk, what is the risk? The meaning of risk is uncertainty in receiving the returns or in receiving whatever is being expected. So, when we do not receive that which we have expected, that is called as the riskiness, and risk is associated with the future time period. So, when we have to forecast something, we want to know that how the business decision would give us the results, what would be the results, whether how much would be the profits, how much would be the returns. Then there are the scenarios of riskiness, and when there are scenarios of riskiness, we can't be sure that we would receive this much amount in future. So, then we have to take the help of probability analysis. So, why there is uncertainty? Because there are changes in the business cycle, in the structure of economy, or there are government policies. So, we can say the risk is because of two factors. One is due to the external factors in the environment, and second is due to the internal factors which are associated with the operating conditions of the business. In finance, we will say external risk is called as the systematic risk, and internal risk is called as the business risk. So, this risk is leading to uncertainty. So, what is the solution with the manager? How the manager would arrive at the decisions? He want to know what is the amount, for how to account the uncertainty, what is the amount of uncertainty. For that he needs to calculate the risk. What is the risk of my decision? And to calculate the risk, he has to forecast what would be the return, what would be the probable return. So, in that scenario he has to calculate, he has to do probability analysis, and he has to, like, if he is saying that these are the values of probable returns. So, he has to find out what is the probability of receiving this return. For example, if a manager is going to invest 1 lakh rupees in a project, so he wants to know what would be my return. So, he is saying that return would be 20,000, but the chances are 75%. So, probability is 0.75. He is saying that my returns can be 25,000, but the probability is only 10%. He may be saying that the returns can increase by 30,000 as well, but the chances are 15%. So, this is how he has calculated the returns under the scenarios of riskiness, and this this calculation is called as the probability distribution of the returns. The total should be, the summation of the probability should be equals to 1 when he is doing so. So, this is how the manager is using the concept of risk and uncertainty while arriving at the decisions. There is a principle of scarcity, where we know that the resources are scarce, very limited, and the needs and desires are unlimited. So, what people have to do? They have to allocate their limited resources towards their basic needs, and what needs, which are the prior needs, which are the which should be fulfilled in the best possible manner. So, then they have to analyze the resources, and they have to analyze the paucity concept also, where they have to utilize the resources, and this concept of resources is called as the scarcity principle, and which is the basic principle of economics. And the principle says that the price of scarce goods should rise until an equilibrium is reached between supply and demand. This concept is used by the marketer, and what marketer do is, marketer creates a scarcity of the product. The product becomes scarce in the eyes of the consumer, and consumer becomes ready to pay a higher price for it until and unless he gets the product. So, this is how the product, this particular concept is being used by, not only by the managerial economics, but also by the marketers as well. So, these are the references of my lecture. So, let us revise what we have talked. We have talked about the time perspective principle, we discussed the contribution analysis, we discussed the discounting principle, and we have also talked about the scarcity principle. These are also the body of the economic concepts which are to be used by the manager in the business decision making. With these words, I would like to see you off from this lecture. Stay happy, stay safe, and thank you.